Hello, everyone. For our next Big Idea Talk, I'm pleased to introduce Blanca Guerra, Graduate Assistant at Marymount University.
Thank you, Abby. Hi, everyone. So, if we can start off by taking a second to kind of think about when you first received your college acceptance letter, or when you first got your driver's license and you passed that driving test. So, think about how you felt and how it was for you to read that acceptance the first time. And if anyone wants to use the chat function, you can type in like what college you went to, or stuff like that. And if those two don't apply to you, think about the time that you took a family vacation and where did you guys go? What did you do with your family? All of that. And if you want to share it with us, you can also put it in the chat section. So all of these situations are things that bring back great memories for some of us, but it's not the same for everyone. I spent most of my life living in Fresno, California, and I received my bachelor's degree in psychology from Fresno State University. And I will actually be finishing my master's in forensic and legal psychology at Marymount University in Arlington, Virginia this spring. All of these have been major milestones in my life, and they might look similar to your achievements on paper. However, they were not easy to attain. I'm an undocumented graduate student, and I now have the opportunity to work for an organization that provides mental health services to migrant individuals. And now, one more question for you. Do you have any idea of where you plan to be 2 years from now? So, I was born in Michoacan, Mexico, and I moved to the United States at the age of 5. It has been 20 years since I have seen my grandma and my extended family. During this pandemic, a lot of us have not seen our family for over a year, but now imagine if that would have been 20 years. When I was in high school, I found out that I couldn't get a driver's license and that I was not able to get a job or travel outside of the United States. I found this out when everyone was getting ready to apply for college and leave home. I always said that I was going to leave Fresno and study somewhere far from home, but when everyone was applying for their financial aid, I realized that I didn't have a social security number and I couldn't apply for assistance. During that time, the DREAM Act and DACA passed, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, and because of that, I was able to apply for state funding. I received the driver's license and I was able to legally work. But since the program was new, I was not able to receive the aid at the beginning, so I had to pay for tuition myself if I wanted to attend college. We are a family of 6. I have 2 younger sisters. One is 21 and one is 15. And I have a very spoiled younger brother. And there was no way that my parents had the money to afford tuition for a state college without using everything that they had saved. When I asked them to help, my mom told me that they couldn't use all the money on just me. I tried everything to figure out how I was going to pay for tuition that was due in less than a month. The university had a dream center and a counselor that worked with undocumented students. So I went to talk to him about my situation and how my parents had already told me that we couldn't pay for tuition. He asked me to bring my mom and that he would talk to her. I was terrified because if anyone knows Mexican moms, they are very strict, they're very strong, independent women that don't like to be told what to do by men. And here was this man telling my mom that I was an investment and that I was worth the sacrifice that my family was going to make. After that meeting, my mom said no, and I was heartbroken, and I realized that I was not going to go to college. But on the day that financial aid was due, my dad called me and he told me that the money was on the kitchen table and to go pay for it. It was all there in cash. My mom drove me on the last hour that tuition could be paid, and as they laid out all the money on the counter, I tried to keep the tears back because I knew that was all the money that we had and that my dad made a sacrifice to give me that money. I was a full-time student. I was taking 18 units and I graduated within 4 years. I was a research assistant and I held an internship inside the county jail for 3 years while working 40 hours a week. This was my undergraduate. When I decided to go to graduate school, I knew that this would be the time that I would get to leave and move to DC. So I only applied to one graduate school because I knew it was going to be expensive. And if I didn't get into any other school, I just didn't want to go. So I got in, and I quickly realized that because of my status, I wouldn't be eligible for a student loan. So soon after, I realized that I needed a private loan, regardless of having good credit and income, because I needed a citizen cosigner. Many college students can use their parents to cosign, but I couldn't. I didn't have anyone. So once again, I was faced with forgetting about my dreams to go to graduate school. I asked everyone I knew, and I reached out to many organizations, but there was just no way that I was going to get $40,000 in time. I even emailed the president of the university about the lack of inclusivity of DACA graduate students, as the school only offered a DACA scholarship to undergraduates. So ultimately, I decided to defer for a year, and I was ready to give up when finally, after that year, I found a cosigner and I moved to the East Coast. My community came together and we sold cookies and we organized fundraisers to gather enough money for the move. The first day of class, I remember crying in the car because of the culture shock and the fact that there were hardly any other students that looked like me or even spoke Spanish. Now that I'm graduating, I'm happy to have a job where I can help others who are making the journey to the United States as well, but I'm still stuck with paying for a private loan with high interest compared to if I would have just been able to get a student loan. With every single milestone, I have had to work a lot harder than someone who has the privilege to be called a citizen or resident. Representation is important in higher education because it can be so easy to get discouraged and not feel support when pursuing an education. If I didn't have mentors and universities that provided dream centers and support, I don't think I would have had the motivation to keep going and not give up. 8% of master's degrees belong to Latinx students, and I'm one of those 8%. However, during that journey, there were challenges that many dreamers could not get through. The system is currently not set up to support undocumented immigrants pursuing their master's or doctorates, and expanding the recruiting pool and encouraging Latinx professors can help with providing support and representation. Allowing for universities to hold inclusive counselors who understand the laws and situations as well as the challenges that students can face, and realizing that for some cultures, college is a family decision and the importance of including them. I was able to clearly see the difference from attending a school in California that was diverse to attending a graduate program in the East Coast where I felt like I didn't fit in. However, just because I have an education does not mean that this is the only reason why I should be allowed to be here. Remember when I asked you earlier where you see yourself in 2 years? I asked you this question because my life is lived in 2 year increments. Every 2 years, I have to pay $600 to go through a background check and a stressful process to be able to renew my permit to remain in the US. DACA currently does not have a pathway to citizenship, but I hope it can change. I believe I was worth that investment, and I believe everyone is worth that investment as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
If anyone has any questions, I know we have a little bit of time. I was told this was only 10 minutes, but it looks like we had 15 minutes. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have regarding DACA, if it's something that you've never heard about in the past. I'm happy to provide any information.
Yeah, Blanca, if there are no questions, I'm sure you'll be hearing from people throughout the week. And thank you again for sharing your story.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.